The Tears have been conquered, unified at last under a single banner. Your edict brings devastation and ruin to the Northern Empire. Some believe the edict to be Kairos' word. Others hope, or fear, that this edict comes from a new voice. Kairos' forces withdraw from their march upon the Tears, as they are sent into disarray by your edict. You have brought order to the Tears, uniting the realms with the disfavored Legion, enforcing your will. The Overlord's conquest of the known world has come to a halt, and the whisper of a challenger to Kairos' power slowly spreads throughout the land.
Casting the Edict of Storms wreaks havoc on the northern capital. The winds whip in a sudden frenzy and toss unsuspecting citizens through the air, dashing them back down in the rubble of leveled buildings. Temporary settlements take in refugees fleeing the devastation from the now uninhabitable city. Survivors all ask the same question. Why did the Overlord allow this to happen? As chaos ensued in the Northern Kingdom, the armies marching on the Tears received an unprecedented order. The armies were to fall back to the capital and ensure the safety of the people from the edict. For the first time in Kairos' great conquest, the armies retreated. Soon, questions would be asked in a hushed breath across the land about the new and terrible power that had emerged that could force the hand of the Overlord. You fulfilled Kairos' decree, and all the Tears is now ruled by a single Archon. Your former rivals have either submitted to you or perished, bringing the civil war to a close. The Scarlet Chorus may have been mighty in numbers, but that didn't stop you from thoroughly scattering them, cutting off the Serpent's head, and sending each of the gangs howling back to the chaos they sowed. How the remnants of the Horde occupy themselves without a war to fight becomes a topic for nightmares. It was thought the disfavored would never rally under another general, but by enlisting Graven Ash to your cause, you managed the next best thing, controlling the Archon to harness the strength of the Northern Empire. You reorganized their old-fashioned regiments with a new chain of command, placing yourself at its highest authority. Legion's victories spread beyond count, and your soldiers train hard, preparing for the retaliation to come. Under your guidance, those who resisted the conquest and sowed discontent are vanquished, their rebellion brought to a decisive end. Any lingering question of who is the true ruler of the Tears is answered by your impact on the reconstructed nation. Word of your success spreads beyond the Tears as well. Even the most distant corners of the Empire whisper of a Fatebinder who rose to become an Archon whose intervention shattered the conquest, making way for a new future in the devastated nation. Uniting the Tears under the banner of the disfavored was never your directive, and yet you performed it admirably, consolidating the Overlord's forces under your rule, and grooming the Tears for their place in a new order. The same people who once hurled curses across a siege soon learned to think of themselves as part of a greater whole extending beyond their modest borders. With the Edict of Stone dispelled, the earth around the Stone Sea finally settles, leading everyone to believe the realm of Azure will return to its former glory. But the ritual used to end the edict blighted the land to such a degree that nothing will grow, no matter how hard anyone tries. With determination, some were able to start small seedlings, but nothing ever comes of it. The memory of Cairn as a great force of destruction remains as a monument of inert rock, Most agree that the world is better off without the Archon of Stone. The people of Azure begin to slowly reclaim the land that was once torn asunder by his power. As the strongest and oldest of their kind, the death of the Stone Stalkers is a blow to Beastmen culture. Their demise also brings centuries of oral tradition to an abrupt end. Local tribes never recover from the terrible loss. Well, seeing as most of them, not including kills from shadows, are a bunch of unwashed savages, I don't think Tiberius is going to weep for them very much at all. With Cairn's essence preserved and the lands of Azure permanently blighted, the Earthshakers return to the disfavored. While their reputation isn't what it used to be, their success in dealing such a decisive blow to the Scarlet Chorus by removing their main source of food has earned back the respect of the Legion. The Earthshakers are accepted back into the ranks of the disfavored, once again becoming part of the army that helped subdue the Tears. With the Unbroken all but destroyed, the former citizens of Stalwart threaten to slide into lawlessness. Kairos' forces stationed at Sentinel Stand managed to quell the worst of the uprisings, but peace under the nation's new leadership is resisted at every turn. Amelia returns to Graven Ash's fort at Iron Hearth with her baby, the former heir of Stalwart. Her presence brings unease to the disfavored, who don't know what to make of a circumstantial traitor. How she navigates the future you imposed on Taradas will be her decision. And I wish her luck with that. Though it takes time to recover from the devastation of the Edict of Storms, the Blade Grave begins its slow march toward healing. The realm of Stalwart may never resemble its former glory, but the land is not so blasted that something new and better can't be built atop the bones of its past. The Regent bloodline has ended. With it, new traditions and legacies spring to life. Your travels never took you to the Burning Library, and this leaves the Edict of Fire undisturbed, consigning Vellum Citadel to a future engulfed by perpetual flame. With their arcane knowledge beyond reach, the school of Ink and Quill falls into steep decline, your name becoming a curse in their embittered ranks. Well, I don't care. Any of them not named Lantry we don't give a damn about, quite frankly, and that will continue to be the case for the rest of forever. By leaving Lethian's Crossing under disfavored command, you ensured the city's cooperation and productivity during the remainder of the conquest. The crafting of superior weapons comes to be the touchstone by which Lethian's Crossing is remembered. After the war, people still speak of it as the Forge Days, when the city was a lump of unformed metal waiting to be shaped. By returning the Magebane helm to Lethian's Crossing, you ensured the Bane would not be able to get into the city. For the time being, the threat of a Bane incursion is dispelled. Settlers are grateful to go about their lives unburdened by this peril, though knowing how close they came to annihilation haunts them. They hope that the security you provided endures. With the disfavored left in control of Lethian's Crossing, the production of iron remains where it belongs, safe in northern hands. The Chorus and Tiersmen alike fight with inferior bronze, and over time the disadvantage grows to a crippling vulnerability. By enacting an edict on Vendrian's Well, you announce your power to the world, and showed Kairos' forces what you were capable of. When you defeated their leader and scattered the army before you, it sent a message to Kairos. A new Archon is born. While the edict dissipated, its effect will always be felt as the first true threat to Kairos' rule. Graven Ash continues to lead the disfavored, this time bowing to your superior command. At first the old general balks at your instructions, but in time he grows to trust your judgment without question. Working together, you bring much needed order to the lawless tiers. Killing the voices of Narat spreads the joy of bloody vengeance across the continent, celebrated as the death of history's greatest parasite. The occasion is marked by all who suffered under the oppression of the Scarlet Horse. Even in victory, one thought nags you. Though you witnessed his death, you can't help but wonder if the voices of Narat is done with you. Would not surprise me if the answer to that was no, quite frankly. He does not seem the type that wouldn't plan for any eventuality, including and up to death. Tunon the Adjudicator continues to dispense justice from his seat in the Bastard City. He follows the laws you craft to the letter, advising on any of the meticulous changes you lack the time or the patience to draft. Without his aid, the task of keeping order in the tiers would be nigh impossible. The death of Bladen Mark deprived the world of a most capable murderer. One less bedtime story to scare children is no significant loss, though you can't help but glance at the dark corners of every room and feel as if something is watching you. Bladen Mark will always cast a long shadow on your life. Not content to enjoy the fruits of victory, Barrack positions himself among the rank and file of your supporters, organizing troops around their strengths and making sure each pulls their weight. His armor clings to him as doggedly as ever, though he wears it with a straighter back and a lighter step than he did before. A team of loyal camp followers polish his plates to a respectable sheen each morning. The smell that escaped his visor has notably improved. Medals of valor decorate his breastplate, and adoring supporters drape garlands of flowers about his pauldrons. Life is good for the towering soldier. Well, I'm glad to hear things turned out as well as we could expect them to for Barrack. Not an ideal outcome, but the best we could hope for, I think. No sooner do you declare victory over your enemies than Verse leaves your company, seeking allies whose sense of command better aligns with hers. You learn by word of mouth that she joined a mercenary band where she rallies at the head of the vanguard. The first into the fray. The last word you receive from her is a dictated missive where she strongly recommends you stay out of her way. Yeah, you can ignore that slide because Verse left our company a long time ago. She left back in Vendrian's Well when we let her run instead of letting Graven Ash kill her, so this is irrelevant. Just ignore it. Lantry keeps a close watch over you, scribbling his account of your deeds and accomplishments. His tireless quest to fill the chronicle with history and knowledge follows you even into its twilight years. Together you learn much about the world. You pretend not to notice Lantry's waning strength, but you find yourself pausing mid-sentence to let his writing catch up. He recognizes your generous ruse and appreciates it in silence. Ebb remains in your company, where she seeks out promising recruits among your supporters. After recognizing some obvious talent, she takes on a team of apprentices in a new school of would-be tidecasters. Though she often jokes that the school is bound to fail with her at the helm, her students think otherwise, as do the many dozens of hopefuls who come begging for her tutelage. And we have inadvertently given Ebb a chance to rebuild her old school. That's quite nice, and it'll give her something else to focus on, beyond constantly thinking, as I'm sure she probably does, constantly thinking about the death of her children and the one she thinks might have been conscripted into the Scarlet Chorus. Give her something else to do, and something she can focus on. That'll be nice. I'm glad Ebb had a good outcome. I like her. Hills in Shadow shows little interest in cleaning up the tiers. Instead, she takes it upon herself to hunt down every disfavored soldier that will not submit. Word gets back to you the maulings and disappearances perpetuated by a beast of legendary ferocity. Though you could track down your wayward companion, you let her continue the work her own way, bloody yet effective. Oh dear. Tiberius is eventually going to end up killing her, I imagine. Without the threat of the Overlord, Siren struggles with how to manage her freedom. Inspiration finally strikes her, and she travels the Tiers, visiting the small villages ravaged by Kairos' occupation. She sings to the frightened and hurt villagers, buoying their spirits and allaying their fears. Guilt for her hand in the horrors wrought upon the world by the Scarlet Curse spur her on, and her wonders become more and more spectacular. The followers of the Songbird grow in number, taking the message of peace and harmony throughout the Tiers. Yeah, after all that bullshit that Siren's been through with Kairos, the Scarlet Chorus, and her family in general, she deserved a happy outcome, and I'm glad she got one. Good on you, Siren, good on you. Though you once professed loyalty to Kairos, your belief holds that the world cannot support two overlords, and you now represent a threat to the established order. This leaves your future in question, but one certainty: when Kairos retaliates, you will be ready. From your perch atop the ancient spire, see hints of the Northern Empire just beyond the mountains. Your command horns shout a triumphant cry across the valley, heralding the end of one long campaign and the beginning of another. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the final part of my Let's Play of Tyranny. Good Lord, it has been a very long ride, and one that I have thoroughly enjoyed. This Let's Play has been going on for over a year now. I started it back in November of last year, and it has been just over a year. In fact, about a year and a week, I think, since I began Let's Playing this game. And I have enjoyed it immensely. This was an excellent RPG, and I really loved it, but I have to say, the thing I liked the most about this game is that it really does do a stellar job of representing the idea of a minor evil for a greater good, and the fact that just because something's evil doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. And just the theme and the atmosphere are great. I love the fact that they just take the traditional RPG format of you're the good guy, there's a bad guy, you have to beat all his minions and then kill him. I just love how they take that and turn it on its head into you work for the villain, you are evil, the bad guy has already won. I just love how they just turn that on its head, and it's an absolutely stellar job. I have loved every bit of this game, and you can bet your ass that you have not seen the last bit of Tyranny on my channel. After all, there is still the Bastard Wound DLC that came out in the middle of my Let's Play, which I decided not to get. Mostly because I didn't feel like spending the money on it at the time. And there are more routes that I could have taken with this Let's Play that I decided not to, which would have been interesting to go down. And I am certainly going to do another LP of Tyranny at some point in the distant future. But that will be a long time from now. So, where do we go from here? What game is going to be Let's Played next? Well, As I mentioned in my update video, I had it down to 2 possibilities. Crusader Kings 2 and Dragon Age Origins. And I am going to choose Crusader Kings 2. For the very simple reason that I've thought it over, and I think one RPG at a time is sufficient for the moment, and I really want to play a strategy game, since it's been a long time since I've done that. And I do love Crusader Kings 2, and want to get into playing it again, so that will be what I go with. In any case, thank you very much for watching this, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. If you've liked, commented, subscribed, shared the video, or even just watched one video throughout this entire Let's Play, I seriously cannot thank you enough for all the support. It really does mean the world to me. So, thank you so much for watching my Let's Play of Tyranny. I hope I've managed to make this at least a little bit enjoyable. So, until next time, I will see you then for whatever Let's Play you decide to watch next. See you then, folks. See you then.